purchases the district made with its share of $1 billion in federal COVID relief money. And much of that cash still sits in school bank accounts.
Well, for the first time, 7 News investigative reporter Mitch Blocker tracking down dozens of purchases meant to help students and teachers overcome this pandemic in this exclusive Crisis in the Classroom investigation.
Bird baths, basketballs, and manure. Dig through how D.C.'s public schools spent millions in federal COVID relief money, and you'll find these items listed under educational supplies.
The football team got all this new equipment, and that would kind of make you go,
Junior Alina King told us her school has more urgent needs.
There are some classrooms that are freezing, and then there are some classrooms that are unbelievably hot. And then that makes you want to be like, oh no, I'm not going into that class.
To see how D.C. schools are spending their share of the COVID relief money, the 7 News I-team first spent months getting and then reviewing thousands of D.C.'s financial records.
Among our findings, more than $1 million to buy tents, metal chairs, and picnic tables. School administrators spent more than $95,000 replacing and repairing the district's copy machines. The sample of records we reviewed show more than $45,000 used to buy basketball nets, footballs, soccer balls, bird baths, and manure. D.C. school leadership tells us these items helped students and staff transition back into school for in-person learning and enhanced school outdoor spaces.
Is this what you think this money should be used for?
Absolutely not. That's ridiculous to spend money on manure.
The National Parents Union's Tashfir Cosby told us students, teachers, and parents have much more urgent needs.
When you're thinking about children who can't read, right, you're thinking about literacy levels being the lowest that they've been in years, and thinking about supports for children's mental and social and emotional health. There definitely needed to be some conversation with the community about the way that the community wanted to spend this money and the way that the money was actually being spent.
When the pandemic first shut down schools, Congress and then the Trump and Biden administrations, they wanted to get money to schools quickly. So they prioritized sending $190 billion to schools with few strings attached.
According to the U.S. Department of Education, funds can be used to support a wide range of activities. Among them, technology for online learning, planning for both school closures and reopening, cleaning supplies, mental health services, summer learning, and after-school programs.
And D.C. schools did spend millions of dollars buying computers, securing internet connections, and buying cleaning supplies. But they also spent millions renting equipment. They even rented a stadium.
D.C. schools used $177,000 of federal COVID money renting D.C.'s soccer stadium. Graduation ceremonies were spread over days to social distance. Pictures from the event show School Chancellor Louis Farabee addressing an almost empty house. Shots of the stands show not much social distancing.
We'll try to make some time for you.
The chancellor refused to talk with us about his spending decisions, but the new chair of the House Education Committee had a lot to say about what we found.
Spending $177,000 to rent Audi Field for graduation is absolutely ridiculous. That is a total waste of money.
Congresswoman Virginia Foxx and the House Education Committee directly oversee how all American schools use federal COVID relief money. Before joining Congress, Foxx was a teacher.
Congress, I believe, wanted that money to be used for helping students catch up from the time that they lost, which has been really detrimental to the students. Our biggest problem, Mitch, is that it's somebody else's money. And when you're dealing with somebody, many people, when they're dealing with somebody else's money, that, nondescript taxpayer, they don't really care.
And the Congresswoman, she says that now that she is the head of the Education Committee, that we should expect to see more oversight in terms of how schools across the country are spending their share of this COVID relief money. She does not believe that what we found here in D.C. is unique.
It's the tip of the iceberg, it would seem. And it also seems, this is taxpayer money. Folks out there watching this is your hard-earned money that's being thrown at this. Most people put a bid in and say, this is what we need, and then they give you the money, instead of just giving you money and then see what you can do with it.
And they did spend it on things that are legitimate, but this is very loosely distributed money. You can justify educational supplies with nearly anything, including manure.
Yeah, apparently. All right, thank you so much for that, Mitch. We've been tracking, of course, the school COVID money and the spending of it for months now. We linked all of Mitch's previous reports on WJLA.com right on the homepage. Veronica. 7 News on your side continues digging into how local schools are spending billions of dollars in pandemic relief money. It's part of our Crisis in the Classroom investigation.
And new at 6 o'clock, the I-Team is now tracking tens of millions of dollars given to private companies. Investigative reporter Mish Blocker now is checking to see if taxpayers are getting a good deal.
I'm clearly with ABC.
Next time.
This is how we were greeted at one of D.C.'s longtime school bus contractors' parking lots.
Are you the head of Rome Charters?
I'm Leon Ballas. Get the out.
We'd been trying to connect with Rome Charters LLC about how management vets its drivers and maintains its buses. Last fall, one of its school buses carrying D.C. kindergartners home from a field trip hit a curb and blew a tire. Fairfax County Police say the driver was drunk, and that's not all. Police say the drivers sent to pick up the stranded kids were unlicensed, and the buses they pulled up in were leaking fuel.
So this is very concerning, and I believe this is something that the D.C. public schools are going to be taking very seriously.
D.C. schools had been using the Maryland-based bus company for years. Signed contracts show Rome Charters LLC shuttled D.C.'s kids to class, sporting events, and field trips since at least 2018. But that appears to be the last time anyone kicked the tires on this bus company.
There's significant concerns about their operation given what we know now.
After finding an alleged drunk driver behind the wheel of one of its buses, D.C. government suspended Rome Charters LLC from doing business in Washington. But in the months leading up to that suspension, school district account records show hundreds of thousands of dollars paid to that bus company. And it all came out of their COVID relief fund.
Between December of 2021 and July 2022, D.C. school account records show more than $830,000 from the district's COVID relief fund paid to Rome Charters LLC.
Did anybody actually do any due diligence on this contract?
I think it's a valid concern.
Georgetown University's Chad Alderman has been following federal COVID relief money in local schools. So far, he's traced $40 to $60 billion nationally to private companies like Rome Charters LLC.
If they trust a vendor and said, well, they did good work for us last time, so they'll probably do good work for us this time, and don't check again, all those things are maybe shortchanging the vetting process.
When we did some vetting of our own, we found Rome Charters' operating license suspended 3 times since it signed that 2018 contract. That includes while D.C. schools paid the bus company out of its COVID relief account. Oversight documents show Rome Charters' insurance expired for 22 days in May 2022. D.C. school bank records show over $93,000 in payments during that time. Rome Charters LLC didn't return calls about its business practices. We already gave you a preview of what happened when we showed up at their bus lot.
We have called 3 times. We've called 3 times.
Get out.
Called 3 times.
Well, get out.
Are you the head of Rome Charters?
I'm Leon Ballas. Get the out.
D.C. schools chancellor didn't want to talk with us either.
I got some questions about how the district is spending its COVID relief money.
It's obvious that they don't know how to manage money.
The chair of the House Education Committee did talk with us.
And there ought to be contract oversight for any money that's being spent.
Congresswoman Virginia Foxx chairs the committee overseeing the $190 billion Congress sent schools to overcome the pandemic.
Are these contracts and the private companies that are getting this money, are they being vetted properly?
Well, it sounds like it, in this case, no.
Now, we did make multiple attempts to get answers from D.C. public schools about their due diligence before giving private companies COVID relief money. So far, no one has directly answered our questions. The closest that we got came in a statement from the district communications office saying Rome Charters was one of many approved carriers on its list, and the company supported activities related to student in-person learning, which is a priority of the federal COVID relief money. Of course, this is just one of dozens of companies on a list that has gotten COVID relief money from D.C. public schools. Forget all the other schools. This is just a look at D.C. public schools.
And the money was supposed to be for learning loss.
Learning loss, teaching kids how to read, making up for the lost time that the pandemic caused.
So spending money on busing companies or anything, that should not be allowed. This is taxpayer money they're spending.
It's all very loosely regulated. It was given out to schools as, here's money, do with it what you will. There's a couple of specific buckets that it can be put into, but yeah, I mean, that's a great question, and something that the Congresswoman brought up, something she plans to ask about.
And the fact the super won't just sit down with you and talk to you about this, I mean, that seems ridiculous.
He's refused many times when we've asked to have a conversation about any of this stuff.
He's a public servant after all. All right,
Yeah.
Mitch, thank you very much for that.
Mitch,